Okay, welcome everyone to the September 2020 TDL Member Forum. We're glad you've joined us today. I'm Christy Park. I'm the Director of Texas Digital Library, and I'm joined by our Deputy Director, Courtney Muma, and Leah DeForest, our Communications Manager, as well as a couple of our members who will share announcements in today's forum. We're obviously coming to you from in a slightly different format than our usual Adobe Connect webinar. We've been using Adobe Connect for these meetings for nearly a decade, and we're using a new platform today, which is our Zoom webinar platform. So bear with us as we experiment with this. We're still learning a little bit about it ourselves. If you're new to Zoom or Zoom webinars, here's just a really quick tour. Since it is set up as a webinar, participants' microphones and videos are muted, so you'll only see those of us who are presenting information today. Presenters will also keep their mics and videos muted until it's their turn to present today. We hope you'll use the chat box at the bottom of the screen to say hello and let others know that you're here or make comments throughout the presentation. And if you have a question, you can use the Q&A section. We'll have a few minutes for questions at the end of the forum as normal. And we'll also have a quick poll at the end to see how you like this new platform. All right. A couple of reminders as we start. If you have questions, please feel free to use that Q&A box. You also have the ability we'll also share out these slides, and we are recording this so you'll be able to access it on the TDL YouTube channel later on. I'm going to start with some updates from me, and then we'll do service and project updates as usual from Courtney and I, and we'll wrap up with community updates from Leah and from a couple of our members. We'll end the forum with Q&A as usual. We are a few weeks into the fall semester now, so congratulations to all of you on the start of this new and highly unusual school year. Many member libraries and partners have created entertaining and informational welcome back messages and videos to kick off the fall semester. We've been seeing those and have collected a handful of them on our website. We'll drop a link in chat now to that link. And if your library has created a welcome back message, we would love to see it and add it to our collection. So email us at info@tdl.org to share those fun and creative photos and videos. We have continued to update our curated anti-racism resources and COVID-19 resources pages as well as new content has been shared. We've started a new section on our anti-racism resource list to capture mental health resources for the Black community. And we've added links to member campus COVID reporting data on our COVID-19 page. These COVID reporting dashboards, some of which were developed with help from library staff, lend great detail to the evolving situations at each campus, and we'd love to see your campus's dashboard and share it. Send yours and any other resources you'd like to share, as usual, to info@tdl.org. Before we dive into service and projects updates, I also want to make you aware of a couple of published reports that have come out since we last met. The first is this Lyrasis Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Survey Report, or DEI report. In an effort to gauge current policies and practices around DEI, Lyrasis surveyed its membership of more than 1,000 galleries, libraries, archives, and museums about their activities in 3 areas: policy and infrastructure, recruiting, training, and retaining a diverse staff, and third, maintaining and building diverse collections. They recently presented the results of that survey, and we hope you'll check it out to learn more about what peer institutions and others in the GLAM communities are doing in this area. We'll share a link to this full report in chat, which you can download as a PDF. And we invite you and encourage you to check that out. And secondly, I want to make you aware of an accessibility survey report that started with a survey in fall of 2019 when a group of researchers, including from TDL member institutions, conducted a research study on accessibility practices related to institutional repositories. The study focused on the digital content collected in IRs and workflows at academic libraries, more so than on the websites and software platforms and their accessibility. Thank you to all who participated in the survey. We collected 145 responses from 20 countries, and many of them were from Texas institutions. The results of the survey, as well as the research data, are now available in the DSpace repository at Texas State University, and we'll pop those links in chat now. Okay, now we'll move on to a few project and services updates, and we'll start with another accessibility item. This past summer, UT School master's candidate and our former help desk technician, Catherine Smithroat, focused her capstone project on auditing the accessibility of a few of TDL service offerings, but focused primarily on our DSpace repositories. Her full report is accessible in our capstone projects collection, and we'll share a link for that in chat. Catherine performed a detailed assessment of the accessibility of our DSpace repository hosting services, and she also did some preliminary assessment of some other platforms that we use. She assessed the interfaces for each of these programs primarily. This project will serve for us as a baseline analysis and action guide for future development work in making TDL services more compliant with accessibility guidelines. So I expect we'll be talking more about the results of this survey and how they're guiding our work in the next year. We'll be starting on that work in earnest in 2021, most likely, given the other work that's on our plates right now. In the meantime, we invite you to check out Catherine's report in our DSpace repository, and we're grateful to her for the work that she did on behalf of our member libraries. Next, I'll give an update on our journal hosting service. We're continuing to work through upgrades of all of our 70+ hosted academic journals, and are at the point now when all of our subscribing institutions have been given the opportunity to test and schedule the upgrades. As a reminder, we're working with each individual journal team for each upgrade, so this project has involved outreach to 75 or so distinct journal management teams to schedule the upgrades for minimum disruption to their editorial workflows. We've completed upgrades to 51 of these journals, and starting this week, we are beginning to upgrade the remaining 20, what we're affectionately referring to as our stragglers, at our convenience. So we expect to complete those upgrades by the end of October, and then do some additional work on our roadmap for the journal hosting service. Since we began this process, a new minor release of OJS has come out, so it has a few key bug fixes and improvements in it. So we will be following up this major upgrade with a minor upgrade to all journals in either October or December. We have a couple of time slots set aside for that, depending on how timing works out. That upgrade will be minor. It won't require the migration and other extensive coordination that the current upgrade to version 3 has required. We're looking forward to getting all these journals up to the very latest and greatest version of OJS. Okay, I will now hand it over to Courtney for a few additional updates on other services and projects. Oops.
Thank you, Christy. Hi, everybody. Alrighty. First, I want to tell you a little bit about DPLA. TDL's senior developer, Nick Woodward, has been working with our new Digital Public Library of America partners at Houston Public Library to prepare their first harvest into the DPLA from our TDL hub. We are eager to harvest from more TDL members as soon as possible, so we're going to demonstrate the new aggregation during next month's forum, so please be here to see that. For more information about this service and to learn how to become part of it, you can visit the service documentation on TDL's Confluence Wiki. And Leah's going to drop that link into chat for us. Alrighty, next slide, Christy. For those of you who use TDL's Vireo, Electronic Theses and Dissertation Submission Service, you've been engaged with upgrades throughout this summer and into this term. Your help has been essential to our lead developer of Vireo, Frank Smutniak, as you've helped him identify issues that were a barrier to transitioning to Vireo 4. He continues to work with all Vireo users to make final adjustments, and we hope to see the first move into production very soon. For a refresher about the Vireo 4 changes, we have the Vireo user group meeting available on TDL's YouTube account. Additionally, we have the new user documentation and frequently asked questions about the upgrade and migration on our Confluence Wiki, and new short training videos are in progress with the Vireo user group steering committee. I also want to remind you that the US ETDA 2020 conference has been changed this year to a free online virtual town hall meeting, which is scheduled for next Wednesday, September 23rd, from noon until 5:30. The conference theme, Making Connections, Scholarly Communication in the Digital Age, will focus on the impact and implications of connecting scholars and research from across the country and around the world. TDL is proud to be a sponsor for US ETDA's 10th annual conference and will co-host the virtual Vireo user meetup next Wednesday as well. Leah will share the link to learn more and to register for that conference in chat. And now I'm excited to move on to the community updates, and I'm going to hand it over to Katie Rojas, our guest from UTSA, to talk about TDL's Web Archiving Texas Interest Group.
Hello, everybody. So as Courtney said, thank you. As Courtney said, I'm going to talk to you guys about the Web Archiving Texas Interest Group. Next slide, please. So a little context about our group, if you aren't aware. The group is relatively new. We were established at the Web Archiving Texas meeting, which was hosted by TDL at Baylor this past November. And the purpose of the group is to build a community around web archiving in Texas, bring people together to share skills and resources to accomplish shared goals, and amplify our work that impacts the national and international web archiving community. There is a listserv, which is listed there. We have quarterly meetings on fourth Thursdays of the month, and anybody's welcome to join our group, so you don't have to be working at a TDL member institution. But if you are, that's great too. And if you'd like to request to join, please email info@tdl.org. Next slide, please. So our group's goals for getting started were to, one, establish a TDL Archive-It consortium. Archive-It is a service that many of us in the group use for web archiving. And so that has been done. Thank you, Courtney, for all your hard work on that. Another goal was for us to build a list of shared resources, and that's currently in progress. The Confluence wiki page for the group, which is hosted by TDL, is where those resources will be included. And you can see all the documentation about our group there as well. That'll be shared in the link slide at the end of this presentation. And finally, the main thing that I'm here to talk to you about is the subgroup that I'm a part of. the goal of avoiding duplication of effort and collaborative collection building. So we decided that we wanted to build a list of public-facing sites of Texas web collections. So basically like your homepage where all of your web collections are listed, your main access point for that. We wanted to explore collaborative tools such as Cobweb and University of North Texas nomination tool to think about how we might be able to work together on creating collaborative collections for web resources, or also to make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes and collecting the same thing. So another part of that is a survey of web archiving practices in Texas. And that's a Google form. They're going to share that link in chat. So the survey is super short. It should take maybe 5 minutes tops to fill out. But we're trying to figure out who is collecting web content. So which institutions across the state are collecting web content. You don't have to be an archival repository. You know, maybe you're just like doing this as part of your work with a public library or something like that. And you're not an archivist, that's totally fine. We just want to know who is web archiving. We also want to know what's being collected. So the subjects or topical areas that are being collected and the scope of collecting. And then finally, how are you collecting? What kind of systems are you using? Are you using Archive.it? Are you using Web Recorder, Oertx, whatever? And even if you're not currently web archiving, we would still really love to hear from you. If you're just thinking about it, or if you've done it in the past, and maybe, you know, your efforts have been kind of languishing lately, that's totally fine. We just want to know kind of what's going on with institutions across the state, so we can get a better picture of what everyone is doing and, you know, inform the Texas community of what everyone is doing. So, you know, if somebody is collecting on LGBTQ issues in Texas and another institution across the state is also collecting on the same thing, you know, maybe you want to talk to each other, or you realize that you're collecting the exact same websites, and so you don't want to do that. You don't want to spend your time and energy doing that, because web archiving can be really time and labor intensive. So the link to the survey is in the chat. If you are not the person who is doing web archiving at your institution or thinking about doing web archiving, we would love it if you would share it with the person who is responsible for that, or who might be responsible for that. If you're, you know, just in the planning phases, or not currently web archiving. And I think that's all I have to say about the survey. Thank you for listening. These are the three of us who are working in the Avoiding Duplication Effort and Collaborative Collection Building subgroup. Myself, I'm at the University of Texas at San Antonio, Lauren Coe at the University of North Texas, and Mary Manning at the University of Houston. We are working together on this effort. So if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us or Courtney. And that's it. Thank you, guys. I will turn it over to Leah.
Awesome. Katie, thank you so much for presenting on that. And thanks to you and Lauren and Mary for heading up such an awesome project. This is going to be great. Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Leah DeForest. I'm the Communications Manager with Texas Digital Library. I want to share a quick save the date for an upcoming meetup with TDL's imaging group, which is called Screen Sharing is Caring. This is going to be next month online, October 27th, 2 to 3:30 p.m. I'm going to pop a link into chat where you can learn more and register. And they also are asking people to sign up to present if you're interested. We're going to share a bit more about this, you know, because sharing is caring. And you'll hear more about this soon. But for now, I'm going to hand things over to Michael Shensky with UT Libraries.
Thanks, Leah, and hello, everyone. I am Michael Shensky, the GIS and Geospatial Data Coordinator at UT Austin. The Texas Digital Library GIS Interest Group is excited to bring you a new webinar series starting this fall 2020 semester. All webinars in the series will be free and open to anyone who's interested. Our first webinar will be on Wednesday, September 30th from 11 a.m. to noon Central Time. The presenters will be myself, Nathaniel Data Bamfo from Texas State University, and Cynthia Henry from Texas Tech University. We hope you'll join us for this first GIS Interest Group webinar, in which we will be covering key GIS concepts, and I will specifically be addressing the following topics: the components of geographic information systems, geospatial data models and file formats, GIS software platforms, and common GIS functions and operations. So it should be a good overall introduction. This webinar will also include software demonstrations that highlight important GIS workflows and show how GIS software can be used to work with data that's relevant to the physical sciences, social sciences, and humanities. We'll add a link to the chat where you can learn more and register, and I hope to see you there. Thanks, and I'll now hand things back to Leah.
Thank you, Michael, and to the members of our new GIS interest group, Nathaniel, Cynthia, especially for starting this webinar series, and also my colleague Alex Suarez, TDL's conference planner, has been instrumental in helping to get this new webinar series off the ground. I also want to make sure you save the date for another new webinar series, which will start next month. The Texas Oral History Association, who just wrapped up their virtual conference last week, will be presenting on a variety of topics related to the work of oral historians and their collaboration with archivists. I'll drop a link into chat where you can learn more right now. And registration is going to open for this very soon, hopefully by the end of the month. And next up, I have a few exciting announcements about upcoming OER related events. So first up, TDL has partnered with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, or THECB, to offer a demonstration of Texas' new statewide repository for open educational resources. The repository is called Oertx. It runs on the OER Commons, and we've teamed up with the Higher Ed Coordinating Board for a demonstration of this new tool. I hope you can join us on Friday, October 2nd from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. This event is free and it's open to anyone who's interested, but registration will be required. I'm going to put a link in chat here after my next slide, and then you can register there. If you have any questions about this ahead of time, please feel free to email me. Next slide, please. Thanks. Finally, TDL is so excited to help organize and co-sponsor the inaugural Open Texas Conference, which will convene librarians, faculty, administrators, other open education practitioners, and our advocates in Texas. This year's conference will be fully online, and the call for proposals is open. The program committee invites proposals that address topics related to open education practices and advocacy, and presentations for both novice and experienced open ed practitioners are welcome. We're especially interested in presentations that address some of the following topics: adoption and creation of OER, open pedagogy, open licensing, including copyright, equity, access, and inclusion, policy and campus-wide integration of OER, including course marking and Z degrees, assessment, including measuring the impact of OER and any identification of benchmarks for strategic objectives there. I'm going to drop a link to the CFP and the previous slide where you can learn more. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about Open Texas or about the proposal process. That CFP will close next month on October 23rd. I think that's it from me. Thanks, everyone. Back to you, Christy.
Thanks, Leah. I just want to echo Leah's encouragement to submit proposals for the Open Texas Conference. We're really excited to be partnering with the Digital Higher Education Consortium of Texas, DigiTex, to organize this conference, and we're hoping it will become an annual event. It will be, as Leah said, it's going to be fully virtual. We're keeping it very low cost, so we want to have as many folks from the TDL community as possible participating in this event. So we hope you'll check out that call for proposals and submit an open education related proposal for that. We do have some time left in our half hour for questions. So if you have any questions, enter those into the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar, or you can put it in chat. We'll check. We'll be watching chat as well. While you're thinking about it, I'm going to launch a poll because we would like to capture some information from you about how you like the new platform, how you're feeling about it. So I'm going to launch that poll and let you give us some feedback. And in the meantime, I want to thank Courtney and Leah as always, but also especially Katie and Michael for their presentations today. It is so exciting to hear about the work that our members are doing within the Texas Digital Library community to support GIS and web archiving. I'm going to leave it open for about 10 more seconds, and then I'll share it real quick before we conclude. Okay, so it looks like, you know, most folks like it or think it's fine, and everybody, a good quarter of folks aren't sure yet. Same here. I'm not sure yet either. So we appreciate you bearing with us as we experiment and learn about using this new platform. And if you have other feedback for us that you want to share separately, please feel free to do that. We'd love to improve and hear what you think. So with that, we'll wrap things up. Thanks again to all our presenters and all of you for attending. It's good to spend a little time with you, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.